Oh, Carter, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, perfect. So, hi everyone, and welcome to, we just had some technical difficulties there, sorry about that. But welcome everybody to the Everything Science 2020 Alumni Night. So my name is Megan, I'm actually a science alumni as well. I graduated in the spring of 2020. So I'm one of the teams who plan this event here tonight. We also have Carter. He's one of the other hosts, so he's a science student as well. So what's going to happen tonight is that we have 3 alumni, recent alumni actually, from the classes of 2019 and 2020, just to talk a little bit tonight about their experiences at Mon, so what sort of activities and clubs they were involved in, the courses that they did, and how that led them. They all come from different backgrounds, and they all really different things. So hopefully there'll be something here tonight that interests you. So what we're going to do, we're going to have each of the presentations, and then there'll be a time for questions at the end. The meeting is going to run until 8 o'clock. So I'll ask anybody who has questions just to save them until the end. Carter's going to be monitoring the chat box, and we'll open the floor to questions at the end. If you don't have a question tonight or you don't feel comfortable asking in front of the group and you think about something later on, another thing I'll recommend as well is that on the D2L page that we've created, on top of the page, there's a tab that says, I believe it's communication. One of the options there is discussions. So we have a discussion forum as well. If you'd like to introduce yourself to your classmates, if you have any questions about any of the presentations or any of the things going on this week, you can certainly ask a question there, and we'll be monitoring that for the next couple of days as well. So just before we get started, I'm just going to ask everybody who's in the meeting, just to reduce bandwidth and things like that, just to mute your mics and to turn your cameras off. The presenters will turn theirs on when they're doing their presentations. So first off, we're going to get started. We had a request to go first, so we'll start with Emma Walsh. She's a 2019 graduate and current student at Mon Med. So I'll turn it over to you, Emma, when you're ready.
All right, hi there, guys. If anyone wants to give me a tip on how to share my screen, I can get my presentation up here. I don't know if I have to be a host or not.
Hey, Emma. So on the bottom of the screen, there's like those like little circles. There we go. Oh no. 1 second. I'll make you a presenter.
Okay.
So at the bottom of the screen, you should see like a little box with the top missing and then an arrow.
Okay. Yeah.
If you click on that and click share content, and then it should be able to share like a PowerPoint or whatever you have set up. If the PowerPoint presentation is already open, like in another tab on your computer.
Yeah, it, I think it wants me to let, because I wasn't in it before, so I can see the box there, but it's like a light gray color. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's asking me to change a setting here.
Yeah, no worries. Sometimes technology is a little funny.
All right, it says I need to allow this change, I need to quit the app and come back in. Is that all right?
Yeah, of course. You can do that if you want.
Okay. All right, let's hope that solved the problem.
There we go.
All right. All right, so are you guys seeing my screen there and you can hear me okay?
Yep.
That looks good. All right, I'll get started then. Sorry about all that difficulty. So like Megan said, my name is Emma Walsh. I'm a recent graduate of the Faculty of Science. I graduated in the spring of 2019, and I'm still a student at Mon. Now I'm over in the medical school across the street from Science Building. I'm in my second year, and I'll hopefully be graduating from that in 2023. So a little bit about me to get started. I'm 23 years old, born in St. John's, and lived here most of my life. I spent about 7 years in Calgary as well, but I did most of high school here in St. John's. I've always loved math and science, and in my grade 12 of high school, I took some AP courses in bio and psych, and I really, really liked those. So before starting at Mon, I knew that was kind of where my interests laid. Some of my other interests outside of school include things like reading, hiking, spending time with my friends, volunteering, cooking, lots of fun stuff. So a little bit about my time here in the Faculty of Science. Like I said, when I graduated high school in 2015, I knew sort of what I was interested in, but I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I did know I wanted to go to Mon just because this is where my dad went and my family was close by. And I knew that you guys had a great science program, so I was really interested in staying here. And because I wasn't exactly sure what I wanted to do, I decided to start out as a general science student and just kind of like take a couple different courses and see what I found good and what I didn't. So, as a lot of you guys probably know, your first year as a science student at Mon means a lot of introductory courses and a lot of different things. So, my first year looked probably a lot like yours will now. I took math, bio, chem, physics, English, all that kind of stuff. And that first year really showed me quite quickly what I liked and what I didn't like, which is good. I took Bio 1001 and 1002 and realized right away that that was what I was really interested in, not biochemistry, which I had previously thought might be what I'd go into. But I did decide after my first year that I would declare my major in bio. And I know that's probably a little ways away before you declare a major, but when you are interested in that sort of information, there's tons of good resources on the MUN website and lots of advisors that can help you choose a major when you get there. Then moving into my second, third, and fourth year, it's a lot more fun when you get this far along because you're finished most of your required courses and you have a lot more options in what you can take now. So by the end of my first year, I realized that I was really interested in human biology. So I wanted to focus as much of my learning on this as possible. So I took a lot of classes like I have listed here that focus more on the human side of things and a bit of animal stuff as well. So I took like vertebrates, comparative vertebrate anatomy, physiology, genetics. I took a couple medicine courses in my third year, histology, virology, so on. Just anything I found interesting, I signed up for. And then as I was moving through this, I started to learn that you could actually declare an even more specific major in the Faculty of Science than just say biology. So that's what I did. As you can see here, I chose to pursue a degree in cell and molecular biology. Now I know you guys are a little bit different now in the names of the options you have. So I was looking into the website and you can take cool things now like biological tools and techniques and biology specifically for health professions, which I probably would have done had I been in your guys' shoes and not finished last year. But this is just a way that you're still taking a bio degree, you're still in the Faculty of Science, but you're narrowing down your focus even further. So that's pretty cool. So once you decide on a major, you also have the option to take a minor. You definitely don't have to, but I think this is a really good way to explore another area that you're interested in. And it can be anything at all. I know tons of people that took a science degree that took a non-science minor. So it can be like business or a language or anything at all. Like if you have any other interests, this is a really great way to learn about something completely different or something similar to your degree as well. Just really whatever you're interested in. So the way a minor works is that you have to take a couple of required courses and then choose the rest of them from like a list on the website. Have something popping up here. So for me, I took a Psych Minor, which meant that I had to take the 2 intro courses, Psych 1000 and 1001, and then a research course, 2920, and then 15 other credit hours in Psych, which just means 5 other courses, which I think I ended up taking even more than 5 because I really ended up liking Psych. Not sure what we have here. All right. So as I said earlier, before I even started at MUN, I knew I was interested in psych because I had taken the AP course in high school. And I knew at this point that I was interested in healthcare. So I thought it would be a really good minor for me because it allowed me to learn more about people and how people interact. And since I wanted to spend the rest of my life with people, I thought it was a great fit. And yeah, so that went along well with what I was already taking in biology and it helped prepare me for medical school. MUN has a really, really cool psych program for anyone that's interested. I took some really interesting courses in my minor, things like drugs and behavior, sexual behavior, forensic psych, social psych, and tons more. There's a huge list of cool stuff. So yeah, what else did I do in 4 years? I didn't just study the whole time. I did have time for family and friends and interests in a job and all that stuff. So I did want to talk about that a little bit to show you other ways you can get involved. But yeah, during my undergrad, I was part of a couple different societies here at Mon, and I had some on-campus jobs and stuff that I'll walk you guys through now. So some major clubs I was a part of in my 4 years in undergrad were the Mon Mentors Group. I'm not sure if this is still around, but there's likely something similar. And this was just a program where I was able to become a student mentor to international students that were just moving to St. John's. So during my time at this program, I was paired with a number of different students and just basically helped their transition to life at Mon be a little bit easier and just give them some tips and tricks, helping them get used to campus and living here and all that kinds of stuff. And then as I moved through that program, I ended up taking on a senior position where I had more to deal with, like actually matching people together and planning different social events and problem solving and stuff like that. And I was also involved with Mon Blood Club, which is just a group that works with Canadian Blood Services. And we just help increase the knowledge that students have about donating blood. And we even brought some blood drives to campus to try and get more donors. And same sort of thing with this club. I started out as a general volunteer and worked my way up to an exec role where I was the social media manager. And finally, the major thing I was a part of during my undergrad was Big Brothers Big Sisters. It's not correlated with MUN, but it's another great group to get involved with. And this is just a program where you're matched up with a child and you're essentially like a mentor to them. And it's just like a really fun way to spend a couple hours a week and a nice break from school, going to the movies and to mini golf and all that kinds of stuff. So I really recommend that program as well. Some jobs that I had during my undergrad. I had 2 different MUSEP jobs. For anyone who's unfamiliar with the MUSEP, this is a student job, usually on campus, but I believe there will be some virtual options now this fall. And this is just a job that students can apply for at the beginning of the semester. And it can be 40 or 80 hours in length, and there's tons of different options. So I took 2 different ones. In my second year, I worked at the on-campus daycare, which was fabulous. I worked with kids for 80 hours during the 2 semesters, and it was just a really great break from classes. And another job that I had was working in Dr. Brian Stabley's genetics lab. I worked there for 5 semesters in a 40-hour position. And I'll talk a bit more about that on the next slide because this was a really great job. So anyone who decides to take bio or any bio courses at all will probably come across Dr. Stabley. He teaches a few of our courses, and he has a genetics lab where he studies Drosophila or fruit flies. And I worked for him for a couple of years, which was an amazing opportunity because I got to meet tons of people in my program through working with him. I got to see what an honors lab even looked like. I got to see if I was interested in doing my honors. And it allowed me to build a good relationship with him as well, which was great for, asking questions about the faculty and afterwards getting a reference letter for post-secondary and post-grad school, stuff like that. So that was a really great opportunity as well. And I also wanted to throw in here that even though this all sounds pretty overwhelming and it's a lot of stuff, you still will have downtime even if you take on lots of things. So if that means, you want to spend a night a week watching Netflix or hanging out with friends or making sure you have time every day to get to the gym or play sports, it's all doable. We manage. So I do want to take a couple minutes to talk specifically about medical school, just in case anyone here is interested in going down that path as well. I'll try not to talk too long though, but if you have questions after, we can go over that. So if medical school is in your interest, I know it's early, but it's okay to start thinking about it now and to start planning ahead. I knew I wanted to go to med school pretty early on in my degree, so I decided to write my Mcat. After my 3rd year of my undergrad, and this gave me the opportunity to write a second time after 4th year if I needed to. So that was my plan. And then I spent most of my 3rd year trying to find some resources around campus that would help me with this. So they offered a free practice MCAT and some information sessions, and I talked to some current medical students and all that kind of stuff. So I would recommend doing the same in a couple years' time if they still have those opportunities around, which I'm sure they will. And for anyone who's unfamiliar, the MCAT is the entrance exam that you have to write before you can apply to medical school. And it's a pretty hefty exam. It's 7 to 8 hours long and has 4 sections. So there's a biochem section, a chemistry physics, a critical analysis and reasoning, and then a psychology and sociology section. And it took me about 3 months to prep for that exam. It takes majority of a summer or semester, however you want to go about it. And the nice thing about med school, and especially Mon Med School, is that you can get in with any sort of undergraduate degree that you can think of. You don't need to do bio, you don't need to do biochem, anything that you're interested in. I have classmates from every background. So what I'm trying to get across here is take whatever you're interested in. If you still want to go to med school, you can take literally any degree. Like there's a few music students in my class. And you're going to do much better doing something that you enjoy. So I recommend taking whatever interests you. For me, it did happen to be relevant in bio and psych, but I only took those because that was my interest, not because I was taking them just for medical school. So I did end up getting an interview in the fall of 2018, and then took my interview during that fall, in the middle of a busy semester. And then there's a 4-month wait period between your interview and finding out if you were accepted. And luckily enough, I did get accepted in the spring of 2019 to start in the fall. The interview process itself is quite elaborate. It's half a day of interviews. You have one traditional interview that's quite like a job interview, and then 8 mini situational interviews, and then a written test. So yeah, since then I have finished my first year of med and just started my second year yesterday. I love it all. If you have more questions about it after, I'll be sticking around. We can chat more then. But that's sort of a couple minute synopsis of medical school journey. So quickly before I finish up, I did want to give you guys a couple pieces of advice that I had heard from people early on, and I wish I heard some of it before as well. But the main things are enjoy your time here. This is a really great program, a really great faculty. All the staff that I met in both the bio and psych departments have been amazing, and they gave me a lot of advice over the last few years. Take things that interest you, even if they have nothing to do with your major or your minor. You will have time to take a couple extra courses. So for example, I took a medical ethics course in my 3rd year that had nothing to do with bio or psych, but I found it really interesting and I loved it. So take anything that sounds good to you. Get involved however you can. Most faculties will have different student societies for the departments, so a bio and a psych and a biochem and stuff. And these are really great ways to meet people and to network and ask questions and just get involved. So I'd really advise you to get involved in stuff like that wherever you can. And finally, ask for help. There's always tons and tons of people around to help you, whether it's professors or faculty members, your classmates, people like me who've recently graduated. We're always more than happy to help. So reach out whenever you need to. And if you're still here and you're still listening, I hope that was helpful and it got you a little bit more excited about starting your journey in the Faculty of Medicine. I'll have my contact info on the next slide, and I believe you guys have this presentation on D2L as well. So feel free to email me if you'd like. And finally, congrats on your acceptance and good luck. And I'm sure I will be seeing you around somewhere in the future. Thank you.
All right, excellent. So thank you for that, Emma. That was excellent. So for our next presentation, we're going to get Cole Murphy, and he is class of 2020 in biology. So Cole, whenever you're ready.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Perfect. I'm going to try to share my screen. Is that working there now?
Yeah, we got it.
Perfect. So, as Megan said, my name is Cole Murphy. First off, I'd just like to, hold on, let me see why this isn't working. I'd just like to welcome you to the Faculty of Science. I'll start off with a little bit about me. So I was born and raised in Marystown, Newfoundland. It's about a 3-hour drive from St. John's, and it has a population of about 5,000. So a little bit rural. pretty small town. It was kind of there that I gained my passion for kind of nature and learning. So I actually did my first year of university out at the Kona in Buren. So it was kind of there that I got my first university course experience. After taking a few science courses there, I did decide to major in biology. And as Emma mentioned, you can kind of pick which stream of biology you want to go to. At the time, there was only 4, but now there's many more than that. So I decided to focus on ecology and conservation because it was what I was super interested in. And I also did a minor in psychology. So I joined the Faculty of Science in 2017, which was after my first year, and I graduated April of this year. As I mentioned, I did my major in biology. So from my own experience, I definitely feel that the Department of Biology kind of shaped my entire university experience. Although the program was not a walk in the park, as I mentioned here, the hurdles and triumphs were all worth the amazing experience that I had. So this program itself has many lab courses. I do believe every biology course that I took had a lab component. I know this may seem scary to you guys at the time, but it's actually not as bad as you think. Once you start and do a couple of lab courses, you kind of get the hang of it, and it becomes second nature to you, especially lab write-ups. There are also several field course options available in the biology department. I know this is probably similar to many other departments, but I didn't actually get to experience any of these, but I've heard that they're very, very great. And then finally, definitely many late nights at the library. Many people think biology is very difficult, but I think that it was super fun. It was super interesting to me. It was something I had an interest in. So I think that the late nights at the library were definitely worth it. You wouldn't believe how much I missed the library since COVID took over everything. So one thing that I was a part of in my undergrad was I was a social chair for the Biology Society. So it was here that I worked with other members of the society to kind of promote various social events within the biology department. So the way these student societies work, it's probably pretty similar between all the other faculties as well, but they simply post a sign-up sheet and you just sign up for the position. And if you have any competition for that position, then you may have to campaign for it. And then eventually there will be an election that was open to all science students. So lucky for me, I didn't have any competition, so I kind of fell right into that position. But I know other people in the society did have 3 and 4 people also running for the same position. So within my time in BIOS, we held various social events. Bake sales were a super big part. Kind of the whole point of our fundraising throughout the year is so that we can host a formal at the end of the year, typically for the graduating class, but any student can come. Unfortunately, this year we didn't get to have a formal because of COVID, but hopefully next year's class will be able to have a proper formal. We also had a barbecue mixer, which we invited professors, lab instructors, any staff of the biology department, and students. Basically, it's as a way to mingle and socialize and get to know each other. It's definitely a great way to ease into the semester. We had bus crawls. We hosted a clothing swap, a trivia night. We had an honor social where professors from different faculties would come, and basically we would do it like a speed dating situation where people would sit down and with the professor, hear about their research, and then they could decide if they were interested in pursuing an honors with that specific professor. It's a great way to get to know the research at the campus, and it definitely matched up a lot of great students with professors. We also had a multi-society mixer where we invited the societies from various other science faculties. So this is a great way to get to know other members of the science faculty in different specific departments, and it turned out to be a great event. We also fundraise money for Relay for Life, which is something that the Biology Society does every year. Basically, what I'm saying is that student societies are a great way to get involved. They're super great for making new friends. Me personally, I made many friends, not only with students, but also with professors, which is a great way to be a part of your kind of faculty and make sure that you stay involved. So here are some pictures. I couldn't not show pictures because I was the social chair. But so up here we have just our formal. This is one of our mixers. We also participated in the climate strike march, which was super fun. Basically, I just want to say it was a great experience. I definitely think that you should all try to get on a student society because it was definitely one of the best experiences of my undergraduate degree. Another thing that I was involved with was the Biology Wellness Committee. So I became a member of this committee in 2019. It included a couple of professors, a lab instructor, a grad student, and an undergraduate student. This committee was formed with the goal of kind of improving the overall wellness of the biology department. So that included the wellness of staff, faculty members, and students. While on this committee, we hosted various wellness events, including a mindfulness meditation that was free for anyone to partake in, as well as various presentations by the Wellness Center. Now for education. So when I was in my last year of my biology degree, I was kind of torn as to what I wanted to do afterwards. Similar to Emma, I was thinking about med school, but it was super intimidating to me. I eventually chose education because it was something that I did actually want to do for most of my childhood. My mom's a teacher, so it's definitely something that my parents promoted as well. So I simply applied in my winter semester of last year, and I got in right away, which was great. So the application process itself was just simply you had to fill out the application online. There was a personal essay you had to write, and you needed a personal and professional reference as well. So for my personal reference, I simply used one of my past employers that I worked with at a French camp. And then for my professional one, I used Dr. Suzanne Dufour, who was the deputy department head of biology, super great person. I was very grateful that she agreed to be my professional reference. So I decided to be a high school intermediate science teacher where my undergraduate was based in biology. I figured that that was probably what I was going to want to teach. And I'm also doing a conjoint diploma of technology education. So this means that I'll be able to teach skilled trades, any technology course that's offered in the high schools in Newfoundland and Labrador. I have one semester completed. I actually just did it in the summer semester just passed. It was super great. I love it so far. I look forward to learning so much more in the program. Ever since I was young, I did want to be a teacher. So where my kind of passion for nature and conserving it was so great in my undergraduate degree, I really hope to share that love and passion with my future students. That's all from me. I just wanted to include my email, and I do have some other important contacts there if anyone would like to take a picture. These are some great resources. I know first year university is super stressful. Be sure to reach out to any of these helplines if you need it. Yeah, that's all for me. I just want to say good luck. I'm sure you'll all do great in your first year university, and I think you guys had a great choice with choosing the Faculty of Science. So thanks.
All right, awesome. So thank you, Cole, another great presentation. So for our last presentation of the night, we have Lauren Squires, and she's psychology class of 2019. So Lauren, whenever you're ready there.
Okay. Okay. Everyone see and hear me?
Yep, that's good. I can see and hear you.
Cool. Okay, can everyone see my slides?
Yes, yep, we're good.
Great. Okay, great. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Lauren Squires, and like Megan said, I graduated with my Bachelor of Science honors in psychology last May in 2019. So I'm just going to start the presentation by talking about my path through my undergrad, more specifically my honors. Did that stop sharing? No? Okay. Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to talk a bit more about my my honors specifically, and some of the courses I did, things like that. But before I really get into it, I just want to emphasize that while I completed my undergrad in 4 years, that's not everybody's path. Some people take a little bit longer, and that's, oh, did it stop sharing? 1 second, this is being a little finicky. Okay, now.
Yep, that's good. It's back now.
All right, great. They're wide. Okay. All right. Yeah. Technical difficulties. So, oh my Lord, give me 1 second. All right, there we go. So in my last year of my undergrad, I did my honors research. So basically for my honors thesis, I investigated the role that emotion dysregulation plays in mediating the relationship between distress and problem smartphone use in university students specifically. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But basically, this was my first time ever undertaking something like this because I didn't do much research throughout the rest of my undergrad, and there was not usually a lot of opportunities to do that unless you do certain summer programs. And it was a lot of hard work, but it absolutely did pay off. So basically, this is the relationship that's shown up in research a lot. So basically what I did was I wanted to see if emotion dysregulation explained some of this relationship, and turns out it did. And then after my undergrad this January, it got published. So I have my first peer-reviewed publication basically right out of my undergrad program, which not a lot of people can say. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, I just also want to emphasize that this isn't the only psychology research that you can do. So just because I did it in mental health doesn't mean that everybody does their psych research in mental health. So the psych department has behavioral neuroscience, cognitive and behavioral ecology, which is also cross-appointed with the biology department. There's clinical, cognition, developmental, and social people. So there's a really wide array of different areas and interests within the department. So there's pretty much something for everybody. So I also want to talk a little bit about my grad school experience. So basically, I've been doing my master's research since this past September, and I'm looking at how effective cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia is for treating insomnia in people diagnosed with cancer. But there's also been an opportunity for me to kind of branch out and do a bit of my own research. So I'm also in the process of doing another survey to go along with a review that I'm writing with my supervisor and a social worker in Saskatchewan and another researcher down in New York on the needs and experiences of trans and gender diverse people with cancer. So I feel like people have a lot of ideas about what university, like undergraduate and graduate school, looks like. But for me, especially with the pandemic, it looked a lot like this. So usually me in my bed working, but it can still be really rewarding when you do it from home. Although I would advise you not to work or drink coffee in your bed, as that's a really good way to mess up your sleep. Yeah, so also throughout my undergrad and the first year of my grad program, I've had the opportunity to present my research at conferences nationally and internationally. So this top one here is me at the psychology department's research day. So if you do an honors program often, your department will give you the opportunity to present your research to faculty members and other students in the department, which is great to put on a CV. And down here on the bottom right is me and a group of us that went to the Science Atlantic Psychology Conference last year at Mount Allison University in New Brunswick, which is a conference specifically for undergraduate students. And they have a bunch of different science conferences. I know they have one in nutrition, and I think they have one in chemistry and biology and a bunch of others. And down here is a virtual networking event at the Canadian Association of Psychosocial Oncology, which was supposed to be held here in the city, but COVID kind of put the brakes on that plan a little bit. And just this past weekend, actually, I presented a poster at the International Sleep Conference, which I was supposed to go to Philadelphia for in June. So basically what I'm trying to get at is that throughout your undergrad, there will be opportunities to present at conferences, even if they may not seem like really big things at the time. I know there's somebody in our lab right now who just got the opportunity to present at the Sleep Conference and the Canadian Association of Psychosocial Oncology Conference, and he's only going into his 4th year. And I also want to talk a little bit about volunteering because, like Emma and Cole said, university isn't just about doing schoolwork, it's also about socializing and getting out and exploring your other interests. So for the past 4 years, I've volunteered with Mon Intersections, which is a resource center for marginalized genders on campus. And we offer peer support, we provide menstrual products, sexual health products, things like that. I've also done odd jobs volunteering with people doing data collection for their theses, as well as first year orientation a couple of times. And in terms of my employment, for the most part, I'm a second lieutenant in the cadet instructors cadre. Did that stop sharing again? Okay. All right, there we go, we're back. Okay, so yeah, I'm an officer in the cadet instructors cadre, which basically means I'm paid by the Canadian Forces to help run the cadet program here. So for those of you who aren't from Canada, it's just a youth program that's affiliated with the military. So that's something that I was in my teens, and I kind of just kept going with that because I could get paid while I was doing it. I've also done odd jobs for summer employment. So over here on the left, that little dot there in the black is me at the Everything Science. At the Everything Science event back in 2018. And just last summer, I worked with the Faculty of Engineering and Applied Sciences summer day camp. So I basically got to spend the summer teaching young kids about science and engineering, which was also really rewarding. So keep an eye out for on-campus jobs. They're great for building your CV. I think Emma mentioned already the MUSEP and ISWEP jobs. So I want to get into some general advice as well before I clue up. So first of all, obviously, take care of yourselves. If you don't, it'll really catch up and come back to bite you in the butt later. So make sure you're getting enough sleep. I know that you may have heard, like in the media or anecdotally, whatever, that pulling all-nighters is the thing to do, and it's a great way to get your work done. It's not. It's a great way to get sick after the fact. And in fact, studies have shown that getting a good night's sleep before a test or an exam will help your memory better than staying up all night cramming. Also, don't get carried away with substance use. I'm not going to tell you not to get experiment with substances like alcohol or marijuana, because it's going to happen. But make sure that you know what you're taking, you don't take it alone, and make sure not to have recreational use turn into chronic use, because that's a really good way to develop a problem that's really hard to break later on. Don't spend all your time studying. Make sure to go out and have fun and relax, or else you'll get burnt out. And reach out to professors or your teaching assistants if you need help or you just want to talk. People in academia love to talk about their research, so even if it's just that, go to office hours. That's what office hours are for. It's for you. So make sure to avail of those if you want to. Also broaden your ideas. If it's possible, take electives outside of your program where you can. You might learn something new. Personally, I took a wide variety of different courses to fill elective requirements. So I took courses in gender studies, medieval studies, even geography of sciences and religion. And I learned a lot of on your own interests and not necessarily, or those that may not necessarily be related to your program. And don't discount what you learn there. So a lot of the things that I learned, for example, through my gender studies courses and my volunteering with Mon Intersections has informed a lot of the research that I want to end up doing for my PhD program. And I wouldn't have learned those things if I just stuck on the straight and narrow with things that I wanted to do in psychology. Also, apply for anything and everything. There are scholarships for literally everything under the sun, both through Mon and externally. Just a few weeks ago, my sister came across a scholarship through the Canadian Legion for relatives of veterans that we didn't even know existed. So make sure to visit scholarship pages, make sure to follow your department's social media pages because they'll definitely be posted there. Yeah, and just keep an eye out because it's a great way to make some extra money to help pay with for your tuition. And most importantly, have fun. University is not just for studying, it's also for making new friends and having some really great experiences. So in terms of contact information, this is my email, my Twitter handle. This is the email address and website for the Sleep Health and Wellness Lab, which is the lab that I'm working out of right now. We always have a lot of projects on the go. So if you ever want to look for some volunteer experience once classes start back up again, definitely give us a shout. I won't be on the other end of that email, but our research coordinator, Catherine, will, and she's really nice. So definitely don't be shy if that's something you're interested in. And if you want to learn more about undergraduate programs in psychology and your options for majors and minors, definitely visit the Psych website here. And if you want to learn more about the research interests of any of our faculty members or grad students, just click on the Our People tab and then click on faculty or wherever, and it'll take you to a link to each prof's department page. And also I want to point out there that I know you probably have heard from a lot of biology and psychology people, but my younger sister is going into her third year of chemistry and biochemistry joint major. So she offered to answer any questions that any of you might have to email me about either of those things as well. So thank you, and good luck with your programs, and congratulations on getting accepted to Mon.
All right, another great presentation. So thank you, Lauren, for that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open up the floor to questions. I'm going to ask the students to please keep your cameras and microphones off. If you have a question, you can write it in the chat box, and Carter is monitoring the chat, so he'll pass along your question to the relevant person. And like I said as well, if we don't get time to get to all the questions tonight, you can post them on D2L as well in the Brightspace shell. So if anybody does have any questions about anything that you've seen tonight, now will be the time. And I should mention as well, we also have Kelly Foss on this call. So she's a communications advisor in the Faculty of Science. So if you're interested in a different department or maybe something that wasn't talked about tonight, Kelly could help you out with that. And she has the contact information and connections in the different departments as well. Okay, so I'll take that one. So there's one there. I wanted to ask about the application process into med school for international students. So I'm thinking as well about potentially, I'm heading into nursing in the fall, but thinking about later on pursuing a career in medicine. So I believe the process would be very similar, but I do know that Memorial, they do take, it's mainly local students. So I believe there's 80 spots in the class. I think 60 of them are for Newfoundlanders, and then the other 20 are for out of province or international students. So I think in Canada, there's about, I think, 15 or 16 med schools that that do that take. Well, there's some med schools that go in English, some that are in French. I think there's some that are bilingual as well. So you can definitely look at the different med schools as well. But one thing you can do, you can check out the Mon Med School website, and that will tell you things like the grades, the type of volunteering, things like that, that you would need to do and start thinking about to get in there. So the next question we have, how do we approach professors if we want to help volunteer with research? So Lauren, maybe I'll send that over to you if you want to take that one.
Yeah, I can definitely do my best to answer that question. I know I volunteered in the lab that I'm in right now in second year, but that was basically because I was responding to a call out on Facebook that someone had for volunteers. So I never really formally emailed. But what I would say is first, go see if they have a website. If they have a website, sometimes they'll post and say that they're looking for a particular type of volunteer for a particular thing. If they don't have a website or they don't have anything listed like that, that's perfectly okay. What you can do is go to the faculty page of whatever department you're looking for, find their email address and just send them an email and put in your subject line that you are looking for volunteer opportunities, and just say, "Dear Dr. Whoever," and tell them your name, your department, what year you're in your major, if you've declared a major, and say that you're looking to volunteer with them in their lab, and ask basically just if they're having, if they're accepting student volunteers, because sometimes they may not have enough work to warrant a volunteer, or they might be on the last legs of a project and may not need one. But if there's people who have projects just starting up, then they may have a larger load of work to do and may be more receptive to taking volunteers. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, so just another thing to add with that as well. I know that somebody had asked about the MUSEPs earlier. So MUSEPs, Emma mentioned she worked at a daycare. They also have MUSEPs in research as well. So if you did want to go the research route and you had a class with that particular professor and you did well, it might be a good idea to get your foot in the door to apply for the MUSEP because you're familiar. They know you, things like that. So with the MUSEPs, some of them for the fall may potentially be in person, some may be online. But for the labs, it's all different depending on where in the faculty you're working. Some of them are actually in a lab, so a wet lab with chemicals doing experiments. Some of them are more computer based. So it really depends. It's different in each lab, but I would definitely recommend for that to look at the MUSEP. So normally they're posted the Friday of the first full week of class, and you have a week to apply. So you can send in your resume and cover letter. You can apply for as many as you want, and you can work up to 80 MUSEP hours in a semester. So you can do 2 40-hour ones or 1 80-hour one, and they'll work around your class schedule. So normally it'll end up being 4 or 5 hours a week, just 1 or 2 days a week, something like that. So
yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I just do see as well with that question, when can you volunteer in lab work after declaring your major only? So no, if you want to volunteer, I think that might also be a really good thing to help you declare your major, because if you're stuck, a lot of things are pretty similar. biology, biochemistry, chemistry, those are all pretty similar. So how would you sort of know the difference between what each school does? And I think volunteering would be, because profs, they may not have funding for jobs necessarily, but volunteering, it's very unlikely that if they're on campus and if the COVID situation is good, it's very unlikely that they would turn down a volunteer, because that's more hands helping out. That's good experience for you. You may want to work there in the future, things like that. So with volunteering is something you can fit into your schedule and you think working in a lab might be in the future, I would definitely recommend looking at that for sure.
No, I was just going to say about the MUSEP thing too. A lot of people like to handle those internally. So give MUSEPs to people who already have them or volunteers who have a lot of experience. So getting your foot in the door either via volunteering or one MUSEP may help you have an easier time getting another MUSEP later on down the road. I know my supervisor, Dr. Garland, we have a MUSEP student now who was her SURA student last year and was her MUSEP student over the year last year as well.
So I see a couple more questions. Could I get a gap year between my undergrad and med school, or will that lessen my chances of acceptance? So the thing about med school is that they really like to have diversity in med school. So you have certain people who start med school who are 22 or 23 and come out of undergrad, and everybody kind of has their own story. So some of the people start right out of undergrad, but as well you have people in med school who, there's lawyers who go to med school, engineers, people who go in their 30s and 40s. So they really just want you to participate in things that you're passionate about, be that work, academics, volunteering, things like that. And the path is definitely different for everybody. So if that includes taking a gap year, being a mature student, starting out of undergrad, there's all sorts of people in med school, and they do take all sorts of people who are passionate and involved in the community. So we have another one there. Is there any scholarship that would be based on extracurricular activities other than academics that we can apply to and won't be automatic? So yeah, there is. What I can do, I can post in the announcements tab on D2L after the meeting, I can go post that. But there is actually a website at Mon. It has all the scholarships. So some of them are automatic. Once you get into your faculty, there may be a scholarship, for example, for the highest mark in a lab course, someone who's shown determination, things like that. And those are ones that are picked by the faculty. So once you declare a faculty, there will be some automatic ones available. But also in terms of extracurricular activities and things like that, there is a list of those both in the community and outside. So what you can do for that is there's scholarship websites. You could just Google scholarships in Canada, scholarships in Newfoundland, something like that. You could do that, or as well on the Mon website, they have a list of scholarships there. So the next one, this first semester is online. Will there be online ISWEP jobs that we can apply for? So I'm not entirely sure about that. I can tell you though, for MUSEP, there was, so this job that myself and Carter did this summer was virtual. So we were working from home. So I would anticipate that the fall, where it is virtual, MUSEP, ISWEP, I think there's another one, GSWEP for graduate students. I suspect where things are virtual, that will be online. So just to give you a little bit of background, for this summer, I was planning this one at home, so everything was done through email. This is being done through Zoom. And as well, I also worked in a kinesiology lab. And for that one as well, I was writing up reports and stuff, doing research, finding articles, writing up research proposals, things like that. And that was all done online. So myself and my supervisor, we communicated through Zoom and email. We had meetings, things like that. So it was a really good experience. So if anybody is looking for a MUSEP or an ISWEP in the fall, virtual is, in my opinion, it was just as good of an experience as in real life, because I got to learn a lot. I got to try some new things and things like that as well. What else do we have? Can international students get the Faculty of Medicine NSERC? So I'm not sure about that one. What I'll do though, I can check on that and I can get back to you. So where this is being recorded, I'll have a list of the questions. So I will check on that and get back to you, which actually answers the next question. Is it recorded? Are research ideas welcomed from first-year students? So as a first-year student, it can be a little bit hard sometimes to get your foot into the door and to get a research position. But I think it's really important to go and to talk to profs. Well, you can't go in person, but to email them, to participate in class, things like that, because then you'll make the connection with profs and you'll get to know them. So for example, in the biology faculty, I ended up having the same prof for 2 or 3 of my courses. And by the 3rd course, she knew me by name. And we had sort of built that relationship where I would go to office hours and I took interest, things like that. So if you are a first-year student who's looking for future research opportunities, it's never too early to go to, for example, this semester where it's going to be online, go to online rooms, message your prof, things like that, participate in class. If you're given group activities, speak up, be an active participant, things like that. And that will go a long way, and the prof will recognize and know that you're interested in what's going on. So our next one, any advice on choosing between going the research or medicine route? I feel like I'm interested in both. I would probably say for that one, it's a really good time in first year to sort of first and second year, because your courses don't really get as specialized until 3rd or 4th year. But I would say it's a really good time early on just to take courses in as many different subjects as you can. So most people in first year will end up having to take a calculus, English, biology, chemistry, physics, maybe psychology as well. So your prerequisite courses in your first year or even your first 2 years are pretty broad. So I think that's a really good time to think about, do you like the classroom part more or do you like the lab more? What do you think of the lab? Because even some science students, they don't really like the labs, or they don't like labs in a certain way. They prefer the lecture style of learning. So I would really say just your first and second year, just think about what you like and what you don't like. But as well, if you think you like them both and you may want to go the research route but also the medicine route, you can also combine those. So certain places, certain med schools will allow medical students to do research, and certain places as well, you can even get an MD, so Doctor of Medicine, and a PhD as well. So you can be a double doctor, you're a physician, you're a doctor, but you're a research scientist as well. So if that's something that you think might interest you, that might be something to consider as well. So the question about ISWEP opportunities, yes, yep, so there should be. So what I mentioned with that one was that MUSEPs were online this summer, and where the return to campus in the fall, things are mostly online. Most researchers are still working from home. Most places will likely have research opportunities. So as an example, the prof that Emma mentioned earlier, Dr. Stavely, I was offered a MUSEP in his lab this summer, but it was virtual. So that was a biology lab that was virtual. So there will likely in the fall as well be those types of opportunities. It could be things like inputting data, researching literature, writing research proposals, going to weekly group meetings, things like that. And then as well, potentially, depending on what happens in the winter, it may be possible to have some more on-campus things after Christmas. So someone asked about the entrepreneurship, and there's a link there. And another thing to add with that as well, actually, is that with entrepreneurship, if you are interested in that, like Emma mentioned, there are a wide variety of electives available. So for me, when I did my degree, I did electives in really across the board. I did business, sociology, gender studies, police studies, political science. So I think it is really good too, as a science student, really to branch out as well, because it's good to have, it's good to sort of have an idea of some of the different disciplines and of what you like, what you don't like. And as well, some of that information might help you in science and might just change how you view the world and you view certain topics. So it's always good, things like that, to get a bunch of different viewpoints. Do we have to complete a required number of semesters to apply for a Faculty of Science SURA? So that I don't know. Kelly might be able to jump in with that one, but I can certainly get that answer and I can post that one on D2L as well. So next Friday, there will be more information on iSWEP in Brightspace. So not quite, it'll actually be 2 Fridays. So basically, the way it's going to work, I can just check my calendar here. So normally, we start classes on the 9th. Normally they're posted, I believe it would be, and you can check on that online, I think it might be the end of the first full week of classes. So either Friday the 11th or the 18th. I can check on that as well, and I can post that on Brightspace. But they go up at noon on one Friday, and then they'll stay up until I believe it's 5 p.m. the next Friday. So like I said, you can apply for as many as you want, and they'll stay up for about a week. I missed the earlier parts you might have mentioned, but did any? So I didn't do co-op myself. There are some co-op opportunities available in the faculty. It's a little bit different because it's not mandatory. So certain disciplines like business and engineering, you have mandatory work terms. So you'll have an academic term and then a work term. But the way it works in science, it's not mandatory. It's optional. So I know, for example, biology has co-op. I believe computer science does as well. And you'll do your courses normally in the year, and then in the summer, you'll work a co-op job. So I think they'll have about 3 or 4 co-ops for that as well. So yes, the recording will be uploaded on Brightspace. Our inventions supported at Mon. So Mon, if you're into research and innovation, things like that, I believe a little bit back, Kelly sent the link to the Center for Entrepreneurship. So particularly like tech and things like that, there's a lot of innovation there. And there's also a business course if you are interested in something like that. There's an entrepreneurship that exists in the business faculty as well. When should we declare our major? So with declaring the major, there's no particular time that you have to declare your major by. The only thing is that if you do plan to apply for certain programs, so there's a couple of other programs that I'm just gonna mention that. So for example, engineering and pharmacy, those are what's called competitive entry programs. So you may need to do so many courses before You can apply for those programs, and there's a certain grade cutoff. There may be an interview, things like that. So there's no particular time where you have to declare a major by, but just watch out for the deadlines. Normally, competitive entry programs like nursing, pharmacy, engineering, things like that, they'll have a deadline normally sometime in February or March. So the program will start in the fall. So say, for example, if you wanted to start engineering in fall of 2021, you would likely need to apply by February or March of next year. So to apply for these programs, what you do, you can apply for them online using the My Mon self-service. What I would recommend for that is that if you did want to apply for a particular program, you can schedule a meeting, so a phone call, a Zoom meeting, an email, things like that. Different ways to contact your academic advisor, and they can tell you exactly what forms to fill out, when it's due, and they can help you plan out your courses as well. So how do we join a society? Is there an application process? So good question. For most of them, there isn't an application process. You can just show up. So for example, the Biology Society, I know Cole mentioned that earlier. The science societies on campus, when school goes back in person, they each have their rooms, their lounges. So they'll just have meetings there. So you can just go to the meetings each week. If you're on Facebook or social media, a lot of them have social media accounts as well. So we had a question actually as well, how are we supposed to socialize and make friends as part of university when everything is remote? And that kind of ties into the other question with the student societies. So a lot of the societies, like what we're doing now, may be having some virtual events or some smaller gatherings during the semester. So if you search on Facebook, for example, Mon Biochemistry Society, Biology Society, Psych and Neuroscience, all the different ones have societies. So that's something you could consider as well. Can you join the different science societies before declaring your major? Yep. So like I said, in first year, if you haven't officially declared a major, if you're just doing the prereq courses, you can join any of the clubs, any of the societies at any time. Even if you're not in the faculty, if you just want to go check it out, meet some new people, go to the events and things like that, you can do that. I know one of the things that was mentioned before as well were the mixers. So if you're thinking about doing an honors degree, if you're thinking, because I know we got a lot of questions about research, if you're thinking about doing research as well, some of these mixers profs will go to. So again, that would be a good way. They may be doing them virtual this year, having meetings like this, but that would be something to consider as well, to go to one of those either online or in person, to sort of meet some profs and hear about what they do. So will this live video be uploaded to the announcements section of Brightspace? Yes, so we will be uploading the video onto Brightspace. We have a tab on Brightspace. It's called Alumni Night, and we'll upload the meeting there so people can see that. And again, just with the how are we supposed to socialize and make friends as part of university while everything is remote. So with that, another thing I would add is that there's a place at Mon called the Student Volunteer Bureau, or the SVB. So basically, they connect students with volunteer opportunities on campus and in the community. So even though university will be remote in the fall, they still do have opportunities, some in the community, some in person. So that would be, it could be anything from tutoring, for example, tutoring elementary school children, volunteering with the Heart and Stroke Foundation, the Cancer Society. There's a broad list of things that they do. Could you please send a link for SVB? Yep, we can send that along. So there's just a broad list of volunteer opportunities that they have. Some of them would be online because of the pandemic. Some of them would be in person. But if you are looking to meet people, be it virtually or in person, the SVB would be a really good way to do that. And then as well, if you're looking for something to add to your resume, the SVB, they also have, there's extra, so they have, you have what's called a co-curricular record at Mon. So it's not your academic record, but if you're a member of a society or if you volunteer, you can add that to what's called your co-curricular record. So the SVB, they have what's called the VIP program or the volunteer incentive program. And so what that is you volunteer so you have to volunteer so many hours a semester, attend a session of personal development, fill out a personal reflection sheet. There's a couple of steps you have to do. And if you meet all those steps, if you meet all the requirements, you get what's called the VIP award. So volunteer incentive program. They have bronze, which I think is 40 hours or so a semester. They have silver, they have gold, and they have platinum. So if volunteering is something that you think you might like to do, that's a really good thing, the VIP program, to have on your resume. And it feels very personally satisfying as well to be able to help out and make a difference with that. Are there going to be virtual mixers this semester? So that's very likely where everything will be online. So again, with that, I would recommend follow the Society Facebook page, but as well, another thing I'm not sure if I've mentioned yet, you should check your Mon email as well, because every Monday you get an email. It's called Monday Mail, and that's really just kind of an update of what's going on in the university community and everything that's sort of happening. So for example, a couple of days ago, the Mon president, she had like a town hall, a question and answer session with employees. So say, for example, if there's any online events, so career development, resume writing, things like that, they'll send all of those events and anything that's new. If there's discounts at the campus bookstore, any of those sorts of things, if there's anything going on around campus, all of that will come up in Monday Mail. So that would be another good thing as well, to keep an eye on that email. And whenever there's any events going on, you'll hear about those. So we can only join society for a major. For example, if I take engineering, can I join business society? Yep, so you can join really any society that you're interested in. It doesn't have to be just the society that you major in. And I think it was Cole who mentioned this, but like was mentioned previously, a lot of the societies work close together and are closely linked. So for example, biology and biochemistry, they might have an event where profs from both departments are there. They might have all society mixers. Some of the different societies might team up to have fundraisers, is another example, fundraising for charity and things like that. So if there's multiple departments outside of yours that interest you, maybe there's other subjects that interest you, you have friends in other faculties, things like that, you can definitely join as many societies as you want. And outside of the academic societies, there are a lot of other clubs on campus as well. So if you like sports, intramurals, basketball, volleyball, I think they played water polo as well. There's a couple of different sports and stuff that they play. If you're into music or cinema, art, things like that. I know there was a cinema club where they would watch, my friend created a cinema club. He's in French, and they would go and watch French movies. So that's another thing. If you like culture and art, there's things like that. One link, which would be a good place to check out, is Munsu. So Munsu is Mon Student Union. So the student union, they represent all of the undergraduate students at Mon. And on their website, Carter, I think, might be able to find a link for their website. So what they do, Munsu, they can also connect you with clubs and societies, activities around campus. So he has the link right there. One of the tabs on their website, they have a list of the different clubs and societies on campus. And there's over I believe there's over 50 societies and clubs. So you can definitely take a look at that and see if there's anything there that interests you. Does MUN support climate crisis gatherings? So there actually was in, I believe it was September 2019 or October 2019, it was the fall of 2019, there was a climate march. So there's an organization here around town. It's called Fridays for Future, and there was a climate march. So students walked from MUN to Confederation Building, which is the site of the provincial legislature. And like Kelly mentioned, they did give academic amnesty. So academic amnesty means that students can't be penalized if for missing that class. So I believe it was given for the day. So students who wanted could go and could attend this climate march without having marks taken off or anything like that, or without getting in trouble. So what's the major difference between the biochemistry compared to bio and chem majors? So I did biology, but I also did a couple of biochemistry courses. And as someone who did the courses, I would say it's just the content is a little bit different. So biology is a lot of memorization. Biology, some of it is conceptual stuff, so like the cell cycle and things like that. But biology is a lot of sort of steps, it's procedure, it's memorization. Chemistry is a lot of calculations and things like that. So chemistry, you can't memorize a chemistry problem. Every chemistry problem is a bit different. So chemistry is more sort of procedure, but biology is more memorization. So biochemistry is sort of like a combination of the two. So some of biochemistry is memorization. It's just fact-based things that you have to memorize. But other parts of biochemistry, it's a bit more logical, application, problem solving. So if this happened, what would happen to this? Things like that. How do the variables change and impact each other? So it's sort of like biology and chemistry, and even there's a little bit of physics. Biochemistry is a little bit of the different disciplines, sort of like combined into one. Is it possible to work at the MUN gym? So the MUN gym, there's a couple of gyms at MUN. There's the field house. So if any of you are in St. John's, the field house is that big, it's the big sort of dome-shaped building. I think it has a green roof. It has a pool, some basketball courts, squash courts, a track, lots of fun stuff there. It may be possible to work at the front desk, but for that, I would recommend to call them and see if they're hiring, things like that. So that's the field house. And as well, there's a gym in MUN, the MUN gym in the physical education building. And I do know they do normally have MUSEPs there if you're interested in studying physical education and things like that. Some of their MUSEPs will be events coordinators. So like if you're interested in coaching kids sports, for example, being stationed in the equipment room, doing inventory and things like that. So I would say for that one, take a look at the MUSEPs that come out. And then as well, if you wanted to call the field house, you can call them as well and see if they're hiring for the fall. Are there opportunities for field experiments or academic trips at MUN? So yes, there's definitely a lot of them. So field experiments, normally they call them field courses. So if there's anybody who's interested in biology, MUN has the Bon Bay Marine Station, and they do field courses there. Now, unfortunately, because of COVID, I believe they were canceled this year. But if everything settles down with the COVID, they normally do have a couple of field courses per year at Bon Bay. So you go out and live there. Field courses, normally they're shorter than a regular course. So a regular course will go for 14 weeks. You'll have class 2 or 3 hours a week. But a field course, you're there for 2 weeks. So you have class every day, but instead of normally having exams, you do projects, you do group work, things like that, and you're out in the field. So you may go out in a boat, go in the forest, and it's really good, especially if you're looking to do things that are more hands-on. As well, academic trips. So Mon actually has a campus as well in England. Kelly just mentioned it, yeah. Harlow. So Harlow, they offer courses. Normally it'll be science, and I think some in the humanities as well. But if you're looking to do a semester abroad or a couple of courses abroad, Harlow would be a good option as well. And as well, even you mentioned field trips, even just for a lot of the lab courses at Mon, they'll do field trips. So for example, I did, Carter mentioned the biology course, ecology, also has labs that are off campus. So that was one. And I've also done a couple of other biology courses as well. I did conservation biology was another one, where we would go to Pippi Park and we do things like looking at biodiversity, looking at pollution levels, things like that. So there's definitely other things that you can do, and a lot of the science courses you have practical components as well, if that's something that interests you. I think I saw. Oh, how do we join a Munsu club? Do you know if the clubs and societies are still holding virtual meetings and events, or if it's put on hold until campus opens up again? So with that, I would definitely recommend contacting the individual society, because every society does, or every society and club does different things and are different sizes and things like that. So in that link that Carter sent on the Munsu website, they do have contact information for all of the clubs. So you can definitely get in touch with somebody there and see what their plans for the fall are and how they're going to be doing things for the fall. Another thing that I'll mention as well, another resource which is good, is that if any of you are on Facebook, I know I've mentioned Facebook a couple of times now, but there's a couple of other Facebook groups as well that are good. So there's one, it's called Mon Course Review and Advice. In that, so say for example, if you're not sure what course you should take or with what prof, you can make a post in that group, and there's a bunch of there's a couple thousand students and former students in that group, so they can help you out, tell you what book you'll need, give you recommendations on professors, things like that. As well, if you're looking to buy textbooks, there are some Mon used textbook groups on Facebook as well. There's textbook swaps. They have Mon used textbook sale, things like that. So I would say definitely take advantage of where things are going to be virtual. And there's a lot of really good resources online and on Facebook groups where you can connect with other Mon students and get their opinion, figure out what other students think, or even if you just have any general questions and things like that. So, did anybody else have any other questions? I think not all used textbooks are listed on the bookstore yet. So, with the textbooks, normally, yeah. So Physics 1050 isn't available yet to buy. So with the textbooks, normally what is recommended is, yeah, neither is Calculus 1000 book. So normally for that, what we recommend, or what I would probably recommend, and I would say a lot of other people may agree, is that you go to your first class before you buy the book, because so what happens is that sometimes you may need the book, sometimes not, but profs can help you and they can tell you in the first class whether you need the book and if you're going to use it and how much you're going to use it, things like that. So I would probably recommend going to your first class, and then what you can do is See if you need the textbook, and if you do need the textbook, you can see if you can get it online or maybe buy your books used, because most of the books, so if a book came out in 2017 or 2018, it's very likely that a student who's a couple years older than you has that book, or you may have a friend or a neighbor, someone like that, who can sell you that book, and you can get it for a little bit cheaper than you probably would at the bookstore. How will online lectures take place as international students will live in different time zones? So with that one, it really depends on the prof. I can post it on Brightspace, but there's some information on the Mon website, and it talks about the different types of courses. So you have online courses. So online courses, a prof will post the notes. You don't have lectures, you don't have meetings. They'll have office hours, or you can email them or contact them, and they may have an office hour a couple of times a week, and they'll give you the due dates, but you do the work on your own. So that's one of the options they have. But as well, they also have remote classes. So remote classes would be similar to what we're doing now, where if your schedule says you have class at a certain time, you log on at that time, you go to class, and different profs will be doing things different ways. So some profs might make attendance mandatory where you have to go. Some might not. Some might do remote. Some might do online. So with that, I would definitely say check in with your prof the first week. You can let them know where you are, what time zone you're in. And if the lecture times aren't good for you, or say, for example, if you know that you have an exam at a certain day, but it would be in the middle of the night, or a strange time where you are, maybe you could ask the prof to do it at a different time and things like that. And I think profs will probably be flexible with things like that, because like Kelly said, it is definitely a strange time for sure, a weird year. How can I get a mastering code if I buy a used textbook? I tried to go on the publisher's website, but it required a course code, and my prof didn't provide one. So normally with mastering, so like mastering physics, mastering chem, bio, genetics, things like that, normally the prof will give out the mastering code in the first class, or at the start of the semester. So some of you guys may have noticed, if you've logged on to D2L in the past couple days, you may notice that some of your classes might be up. Maybe some are up yet, maybe some aren't, because classes don't start for another week. But at the start of the semester, profs give out what's called a syllabus. So the syllabus basically just outlines the work you're going to have to do in the course for the semester, the prof's expectations, and the due dates as well. So that actually ties in with Rishi's question about how will online lectures take place. So you'll be able to see in the syllabus what the prof expects of you, when they expect you to show up, and things like that. So normally, if you do require an access code or certain textbooks, or when class is in person, you may need to have other things like graph paper, lab coat, lab goggles, things like that. The prof will normally lay all that out in the syllabus, so you can see that and read that, and then determine what you need. So if there's anything that you're missing or you have any questions with that, the prof can help you with that. So I can consult the professor about my problems during office hours. Yes, and that's another thing that's going to come up actually. Normally they'll put it in the syllabus. So when campus is, or when Mon is in person, normally profs have what's called office hours. So they may say, for example, 12 to 2 on Tuesday, as an example. And during that time, their door is open. You can go if you have any questions about the research, about even declaring a major, just about their academic path, things like that, where you guys are going to be heading into first year, or if you have any questions about the class material and things like that. That's what office hours is for. So now that classes are going to be online, profs are likely going to have a virtual office hours as well, or they'll be reachable by email. So most profs have a policy that if you email them, unless it's a weekend or unless it's a holiday, they'll normally get back to you within 2 or 3 days. So if you have any questions, you can always email them as well. All right, now did anybody else have any other questions? All right. Well, if we don't have any more questions, what I'm going to do is I will, if anybody, like I said, if anybody does have any other questions, because we did have a lot, which is excellent, but hopefully that cleared some of the things up. So what we'll do, we'll end the meeting there now. Like we said earlier, it will be posted on the orientation website. And if you do have anything that you didn't get answered, or if there's any other links or anything like that that you didn't get, you can ask a question on the D2L, and we'll look at that for the next couple days and just keep checking to see if there was any other questions for that as well. All right, so if we have no other questions, we'll end it there, and we'll post that online in the next couple of days for you guys.